Sam Bankman-Fried is on trial at the moment. Some will know the name. He is the guy that's responsible for one of the world's largest crypto exchanges, which folded in November last year. He's on trial for one of the biggest frauds that we've seen in financial markets in a long, long time. I'm joined by Sunil Krishnan to try and make sense of this pretty crazy story. Sunil, there's loads and loads we can talk about, but maybe let's just start off by putting into context. How big is this fraud relative to some historical frauds we've seen in markets?
Well, it's pretty big. We're talking about customer money, nearly $9 billion that effectively went missing when the FTX platform that he created collapsed. And that's before you even account for wealth lost by the founders. So Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he's known, he was supposed to have a personal net worth of $20 billion, and that's pretty much all gone. So in historical context, definitely in the top 5 of what I've seen in my career, maybe not quite, a Madoff or an Enron, but definitely one we're going to be talking about for a while.
Okay, so I mean, before we get into the details of the trial, who is Sam Bankman-Fried? What's his backstory? Where does he come from?
Well, the short answer is he's a rocket scientist. I mean, even now he's only 31. He was the son of 2 Stanford professors, funnily enough, in law. He was good at maths, studied physics at MIT. He joined a quantitative trading firm called Jane Street, got drawn towards crypto, decided that maybe instead of being the gambler, maybe it would be better to own the casino, and he left to set up a platform which would allow other people to quickly and easily trade cryptocurrencies, and that was FTX, and it was FTX's customers who ended up $9 billion short.
Okay, so I mean, the key question is how can that happen? How can $9 billion of customer money go missing?
Well, I guess the personal factor is he really liked taking a view on cryptocurrencies. And, if you're really into roulette, maybe it isn't a safe idea for you to run a casino. So he continued to trade and to bet through a side hedge fund called Alameda Research on cryptocurrency. That would probably have been okay. But then the institutional problem is that investment management firms and platforms and so on are supposed to separate customers' money from their own. And, we're very heavily scrutinized by regulators to make sure that we as a firm are doing that. FTX, not so much. So what was happening was that customer money was being funneled not only into hedge fund investments, but also political donations, property, sponsorships for kind of big sporting institutions like Major League Baseball or American football, Coachella Music Festival. I mean, this is all stuff that customers didn't sign up to.
Okay, so it doesn't sound good. So $9 billion of customer money gone missing, all sorts of allegations around where it was spent and where it went. I mean, how is the trial going? We're 3 weeks in, we're approaching the end. How is it looking for Sam Bankman-Fried?
Not brilliantly. It's been prosecution witnesses so far, but they include some people who are really close to SBF. So, for example, Caroline Ellison was the CEO at the hedge fund, an on-off girlfriend of his, of course. And what she was saying is he knew exactly what was going on. So, for example, she would prepare balance sheets for the hedge fund, and he'd say, no, that one doesn't look good enough. I want another one. And eventually she had to produce 7, and he chose number 7. So it doesn't look great to judge and jury. Trial's not over yet. Maybe there's more to come, although I think people are starting to form their views about likely verdicts already.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm reading, it's looking highly unlikely he's going to go free on all accounts, but let's see how it ends. I mean, Sunil, what's the key takeaway from you in this? There's obviously lots of lessons to be learned, but what will be your key message?
Well, there's obviously an irony in the sense that one of the key sales pitches for crypto was that you should free yourself of the kind of whim of regulators and central banks and governments, and really keep your money safe. And of course, it hasn't worked out that way. And maybe we should be suspicious of people who are casting doubt on the whole infrastructure of finance to try and get you to go for something that's completely untested. Maybe that's the key lesson.
Yeah, and also as you said earlier, maybe don't gamble at your own casino. I think that's also a good one to take away. Look, this is a massive story. There's so much more we could cover. I know that Michael Lewis already has a book out on this, so it's highly likely to be a Hollywood movie. But it is a fascinating story. We might come back when we see the outcome of the trial. But really interesting, Son, a great overview in about 5 minutes. We will be back next week. We will put a fund manager on the spot and ask the different questions. Until then, take care.